Okay guys, here we go back for the second video on combining, on adding and subtracting with unlike bases. So here is my problem and I'm back up to example 3 and I'm going to be adding this time. So like I did last time, I can multiply my denominators together and then add them. I can multiply everything out and then factor them. I can do that. Sometimes that's a long, hard way. Did you hear that big sigh? So I'm actually going to try and find my common denominator. That means what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor my denominators. So I'm going to look at my denominator. This side is already factored. So I'm going to factor this side, and if I factor this side, I take a 5 out, and I get k plus 4. Okay? Do you see that? So I need something, a common denominator, something they all have in common. Well, not that they all have in common. Sorry, I don't want to say it that way. That's why I paused. Common denominator is a denominator that has everything that's in all denominators. I want to say that. So it has to have everything that's in all of the denominators. So what's in both of the denominators we know for sure is k plus 4. Okay, so we know that that's going to be part of our common denominator because it's here, we have it here, and we have it here. But in order for it to be a common denominator, it's got to have everything that's in both denominators. So everything that's in both denominators. So what's not in there yet is this, oh, see, not a highlighter here. Let me go back and put a 5 there. 5 is this. I need to have this 5 in there. That has got to be in my denominator. And it's not in the other one. That's okay if it's not in the other one yet. But I have to have everything that's in this denominator. Have to have everything that's in this denominator and everything that's in this denominator. So if I write down this denominator, which is 5 times k plus 4, which I did, and then say, is there anything missing that this denominator has that this one doesn't? No, I don't have to add anything else. So I can think of it that way too. As we go along, I'll keep showing you how I think about adding a common denominator and work it through that way. So hopefully you'll be okay with by the time we get to the end of this. So I want to go back and now ask myself, what do I multiply this denominator by to get this one? Well, nothing, or 1. So I'm going to multiply by 1, right? Because it already has everything. So now what do I multiply this denominator by? This denominator by to get this one. Well, this one doesn't have a 5, so I have to multiply by 5 in this one. That means I have to multiply the top by 5. So that's what I'm going to do, is just multiply that one by 5. So in this one, I'm just going to have 1 times k plus 24 plus 5 times k. So k plus 5k is 6k plus 24. Where'd that 25 come from? Woo! Let's rewrite that here. That should be 24. Plus 24 all over 5 times k plus 4. And now I'm going to factor the top if I can. What goes into 6 and 24? Well, 6 does. And that becomes k plus 4 over 5 times k plus 4. And the k plus 4's go away. And I get 6 over 5. That looks pretty like 6 over 6. So let me rewrite that. 6 over 5. Okay. So now we're going to do 3 more problems kind of like this. And I'm going to spend some time talking about them. So hopefully we can understand how it's going to work by the time we get done with this video. Make sure you're either emailing us or using the group discussion, whatever you need to, so you understand what you're doing in this, because you will have a checkpoint on this. So here we go. So I'm going to factor my denominators first. Well, let's look and see what we're doing first. So if we know that we're going to be adding. Okay, So now we're going to factor our denominators. So I have x minus 7 in this one, and so I'm going to factor this one, which is 2 times x minus 7. So that's what it factors to. So what do I need? What's in, we're going to start with the first one. So I'm going to start with the first one. I need everything that's in this denominator, which is just x minus 7. So I know in my denominator I'm going to have an x minus 7. Okay, now I'm going to go to this denominator and see what this one has that this one doesn't. So this one has a 2 times x minus 7, and this one only has an x minus 7. So what do I need to add to it? Well, a 2. Now it has both things in it. So I'm going to just kind of erase this line here. Okay, so now this has, my common denominator has everything that's in both denominators. So now it is definitely a common denominator. So now I need to ask myself, what does this denominator need that this one has? Well, this one needs a times 2. So I'm going to multiply by 2, so I'm going to multiply by 2. What does this one need that this one has? Nothing. So I don't need to do anything to it. I'm done with that one. So now I get 2 times 1 is 2 plus 6. And that's going to equal 8 over 2 times x minus 7. And if I simplify it, 2 goes into 2 once and into 8 4 times. So I get 4 over x minus 7. Sorry, I forgot my parenthesis there. And there's your answer. Okay. Again, here we go. So the first thing we want to do is factor. So I want to factor, I'm just going to come over here just a little bit, what multiplies to be negative 9 and adds to be 0? Well, 3 and 3. So that means my denominator here factors to k plus 3 times k minus 3. Let me put the minus over here. Okay, so equals, here we go. So I'm going to ask myself what, it's an add problem, so here we go. I need to write everything that's in this denominator. So what is in this denominator? Well, k plus 3. Okay. K plus 3. K minus 3. Okay? And then I want to know what this denominator needs to make it look like this denominator. Well, as a k plus 3, and it needs the k minus 3. I don't need to add anything to this denominator. In order to make it look like it, I need to add the k minus 3. So now they look the same. So if I'm multiplying the bottom by k minus 3, I need to multiply the top by k minus 3. I know I'm saying a little different thing every time because I know that one way one person will understand it, and another way another person will understand it. So you may not need to go back to a different problem. I just want to say it in as many different ways as so different people can understand it. I just want to put that out there. So here we go. My common denominator, what I needed to make this one look the same was k minus 3 because I had the k plus 3. This one's the same. I have the common denominator. That is my common denominator. So this one doesn't change. My numerator doesn't change. It's just 6k. Plus, then I have k times k minus 3. So I'm going to rewrite that over here. So I've got 6k plus k squared minus 3k all over k plus 3, k minus 3. So let's simplify this. So I get k squared plus 3k all over k plus 3, k minus 3. So if I simplify this, I factor out a k, and I get k plus 3. And And then I have a k plus 3 on top, a k plus 3 on the bottom. And that gives me a k over k minus 3. Okay. Remember, if you're asking questions in the video, make sure you do a timestamp so we know exactly where we need to help you at. See, I'm all paranoid about these problems because I just know that you guys are going to have questions about them. So please make sure that you're asking questions, okay? Thank you. So we're going to factor again. I don't need to factor this one, and it's a minus problem, so this one is great. I am going to factor this one. So give me two numbers that multiply to be -4 and add to be 0. Well, 2 and -2. Great. So this factors to w plus 2 and w minus 2. Okay. Whew. So what is my common denominator going to be? Well, in this one, I need a w plus 2. And this one, look, I already have a w, so it needs a w plus 2, which I already have. And I need a w minus 2. So there's my common denominator. Okay. So here's my next question. What does this denominator need to make it look like this one? Well, a w minus 2. And now it looks like my common denominator. So that means I'm going to multiply the top by w minus 2. Okay, great. And what does this denominator need to make it look like that one? Nothing. Great. So I'm going to times it by 1. Well, nothing. I'm going to say 1. It's the same. Okay? So I get w times w minus 2 minus 8. Okay, so let's multiply everything out. So I get w squared minus 2w minus 8 all over w plus 2 times w minus 2. And then I'm going to factor. So I've got two numbers that multiply to be 8 and add to be -2. I'm sure that's 4 and 2. So, and since this is negative and this is negative, that means the bigger number needs to be negative. So I've got w minus 4 over w plus 2 and w plus 2, w minus 2, w plus 2, w plus 2. So my answer is going to be w minus 4 over w minus 2. Good job, guys. Okay, go ahead and do some problems like this, and we'll see you on the last video. Thanks. Bye.